All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, episode 52. We're so glad to have you guys back. After honestly another crazy week of football, I'd say, very unexpected season so far, Hunter. Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's just been like kind of weird the way like how the superpowers. Oh my God, I'm all over the place. How like you see Indiana beat Baltimore, right? You see Cincinnati just squeak out a win to get their first one in the season over the Rams. And it's like, like as midseason comes on, like the real Super Bowl contenders are going to start to show. And like, I think we saw that kind of like with the Commanders starting 2-0 and then Buffalo just unloading on them. But it's just like, I feel like some of the bad teams that we were really, really low on are actually playing a lot better than what we expected. So just kind of with that said, if you want to we can just go into this game. Houston at Jacksonville. Can CJ Stroud break the rookie passing record?
Well, as we were saying before the show,
for yards.
Yeah, as we were saying before the show, especially with the extra game, as of right now, hey, certainly possible. And CJ Stroud looks amazing. As I was saying, I'm an honest guy. I wasn't necessarily as high on him coming into the season as maybe a few other quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, especially like I said, of all the Ohio State QBs, as of recent that came out where I was like, okay, he's gonna be the guy. Well, we know CJ's the guy. He's breaking the Ohio State curse that's been, everybody's been saying recently. And it's obviously true. He's dominating, standing in that pocket. Bless you, bro.
Golly.
Allergy season hitting different, bro. And no, but jokes aside, look, CJ looks awesome. He looks confident, making throws inside the numbers, outside the numbers, putting the ball exactly where it needs to be. He's showing you everything you want to see. I mean, you got to love it if you're a Texans fan.
Oh my.
And on top of it, bro, we got to acknowledge Tank Dell was an absolute steal. We knew this coming. We were high on Tank Dell coming in. Fell a little farther than we expected. And CJ wanted him directly. I think it's showing. It's showing in the tape. It's showing in the way they have a connection. They have a real connection going on. Houston, you got to be excited down there in Houston. They definitely got a lot to be excited for.
Yeah, so I was not that big on Stroud either coming out. Not that I didn't think he'd be good, but definitely not this fast. Like the way he's come on to the scene has been crazy. And you can tell like him and Dell already have a connection. And him telling you like Houston to go out and get him, like the fact that he told them to do that or like requested it from them, they did it and it's working. Like I think like favors Stroud a lot and like puts him in a really good light. Like, and also like D'Amico Ryans has done such a great job like building this kind of like culture already in Houston. Like you can see like the team's identity, like you can see the fluidity in how they play. Houston has like a bright future with their young playmakers, and their defense has been impressive. I mean, their secondary is graded like 10th for coverage by PFF. And once they get that front a little bit more right, Will Anderson, I think, blocked that field goal too. Like they have some pieces here in Houston and they're overperforming. I feel like a lot of people, from what a lot of people thought. And, Jacksonville has been kind of disappointing in that aspect, but they shouldn't be putting up 37 on Jacksonville. Like that's just, whether that's lack of offense from Jacksonville, lack of defense from Jacksonville, it's just been kind of unfortunate. I don't really have much to say on the Jags other than like they've been playing very uninspiring, and like Calvin Ridley has like a case of the drops. Like he has been dropping a lot, and I'm honestly unimpressed with their defense too against Houston. I just don't know. Really kind of Jacksonville has to figure out on offense because that is what carried them last year. And, they're strong, where they were strong last year is really not where they're strong this year.
Well, okay. Well, I'll start with this because absolutely you're spot on. Number one, we were saying, everybody's been saying the whole offseason, the Jags had to address the defense. They didn't address the defense. Not just that. Another thing I want to talk about is because I was looking this week and I'm kind of like, all right, let me get a good look at Trayvon Walker. Let me see how Trayvon Walker's been playing. Let me look myself. Let me take a look at the numbers from the past couple weeks specifically on certain things like how much pressure he's getting, all these other things. And it's like, and I know they've been moving around a little bit, trying new things. And honestly, unfortunately, the way it looks, and it's not like I don't think this is really something that has much room to change. It's just the way it's going to be. Aiden Hutchinson was clear in a way the better pick at that spot, and they passed on him, and now he's dominating on the Lions D-line, and Trayvon Walker is struggling on the Jags D-line. That's number one, I feel like was kind of like, if you could circle the biggest reason why this is happening right now, it probably falls down to that. They're struggling really on the most important part of the defense. They don't have much depth there right now. And yeah, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, they're 29th in pass rush right now.
And it's not, and that's where, again, like you said too, with the offense, the Jaguars' offense also just been completely uninspiring. I mean, there's not really much consistency going on. The run game is definitely not where you want it to be. You definitely, I mean, we thought T-Law was going to have a huge jump going for like a 5,000-yard passing season this year. And where it's at right now, we're definitely not on pace for that. But back to the Texans, because I feel like that's more, I want to talk more about the Texans because I love where the Texans are at right now, even though obviously we know the record's not going to be anything amazing this year. It's, it's a big work in progress. It's like clay being molded right now, but you got to love the base. The base is definitely what you want to see because, again, we said already about CJ, but I want to talk about with D'Amico Ryans. Look, you can, like you said about the identity, you can clearly see this team went from being like, oh yeah, you're just able to come in and do whatever you want to the Texans. The defense now is going to be like, I don't want to say the identity because with CJ on the other hand, I can't say that on the other side of the ball, but the defense is going to be obviously a much, much just more intense, violent unit. We can see it on the field, the way they're playing. A lot of the young players, rookies, going crazy. You got to love to see it. The Texans as a whole unit, definitely one of the best young units in the league. And again, the record this year is not going to show you anything amazing, but you definitely got to love the base of the team, and they have a great future.
Talking about defense, let's move into Denver at Miami. How close will Miami come to scoring 70 again this year?
I think so. I literally, again, before the show, we came up with this question. I had a number in my head right away, and I said I was going to save it for the show. Here's my number. The Dolphins are going to go for 55 again at some point this year. I don't know why I'm saying 55. It's just the 55's coming to my head. I'm rolling with it. 55 points. And I don't know who it's going to be against. I don't even want to predict anybody. But I'll tell you, 55 is my number, so that's how close they're going to come.
They have the Giants and then the Panthers back to back after they play the Bills next week. I could see them putting up 55, 60 points on the Giants. I mean, you could argue that Denver has a better core on defense. I mean, they got Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence and everything, but, the secondary is kind of banged up. And the 49ers put 30 on them. So I could see the Dolphins putting up 55.
I can see him doing it to anybody. Even it's the point where even if they're a better defense than expected, it's the point where the Dolphins their offense is so electric. They just need to show up that week and show out. It can happen, as we know.
I mean, I think this just makes a stronger case for Tua as an MVP. And then I also think it makes a stronger case for McDaniel as coach of the year. So the defense is currently graded. And this is where I kind of want to point this out is as electric as the offense is, they're so fast and it's so hard to cover them. And the way they scheme it up, the defense is graded as 8th in the league. If they have a top 10 defense and if they've shown you they can put up 70 points regardless of the team, how do you stop that? And Jalen Ramsey is still coming back.
Okay. So the first thing I want to get off my chest, because you're spot on, absolutely, was back to the thing about Tua, right? I was having an argument this week with some friends, and I was saying how, again, when I say this, people get really heated. I don't know why. Because I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the last 3 weeks.
Right.
The last 3 weeks is all I have. I don't know about the future, right? I'm not saying he's him. Let me be clear too. I'm not saying he's him. I'm saying these past 3 weeks, Tua has been playing like how Drew Brees was playing, and that's how I said years ago, Tua at his peak can have to live like how Drew lived. Very high anticipation, incredibly accurate ball placement. It's what he's doing right now. He's living like Drew was living, and it works. When you're a small quarterback, you got to make it work like that, right? He's making it work like that. Dominant ball placement, reading the field absolutely perfectly right now. That's what he has to be doing. He's doing it, and he's doing it at an MVP level. Like I said, season ender right now, Tua has to be MVP, right? Because the way he's operating this offense is as high as you can operate it. And I think what I've been hearing a lot of people say recently, it's kind of driving me nuts, is people are saying, oh, and this is what's crazy too. I just want to remind everybody, the narratives over Tua has been so crazy and ridiculous over the past couple of years. So let's review this timeline I've been witnessing, bro. The timeline was like, oh, Tua sucks, right? A few years ago, Tua sucks. He's garbage and never bounce back. And at the time, he had worst O-line in the league, mid-tier core, and also a coach that had no faith in him. All right, so now when Tua has a good O-line that improved, also mostly homegrown though, a lot of guys that they just developed there that have gotten much better, right? So the more homegrown O-line, and on top of it, and now he has the great receiving core and all these weapons, and everyone's like, oh, well, he has all these weapons. How is he not going to? I'm like, so the narrative is either that a quarterback sucks because they have nothing, or when you give them what they need to succeed and then they start succeeding, oh, well, how could he not succeed? These narratives have got to stop. When a dude is playing good football, they need to be acknowledged as playing good football. There are too many people nowadays that I think are way too they are not happy if they weren't absolutely right about everything. And you got to be able to admit when you were wrong. Look, a
Yeah.
lot of y'all were wrong about Tua, and it's fine, right? Hey, I've said some things about Tua in the past. I'm sure that were like not 100% accurate. But one thing I was adamant on, you can't knock the man out yet, even when it was at his worst, because we knew what he could do. And the way the situation was working was just absolutely not in his favor. And it's like that for a lot of guys. But Tua specifically would still show you plenty of flashes that you like. And again, here we are now, and it is what it is. But it's just a reminder, you know?
Yeah. So kind of going into Denver, because they had a hand in like their defense has been horrible this year.
Terrible.
And it showed against Miami. I just want to point out, like, the Broncos offense like does not look terrible. Like, they're 11th in points per play in the league. So like they're still producing. It's just like this defense is so bad. And like that's the most frustrating thing is like the players they have on defense aren't horrible. They're not horrible.
No, that's what makes it so
like,
concerning.
They're underperforming. And I guess my thing is like, what do you do? Like, do you promote somebody else to be DC? Do you have someone else call the plays? Like, I really don't get it, because the offense is fine. The defense needs to improve, but like in my opinion, because you get beat so bad, and after the comments Peyton made about Hackett, Sean Payton has to capitalize against a horrible Chicago team this upcoming week. And if he doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what happens. I mean, it would be hell in Denver that day.
Dude, he literally, I mean, we say this facetiously a lot of times, like, oh, they can't, or he can't. No. This really, truly is a situation where he cannot have that team walk in there and not be ready to execute the game plan. Because if that, even if it's a shaky game, like you said, the media, the faith in the team, the faith in his leadership is going to be very questioned. And again, he put himself in this position with what he was saying in the offseason. We already acknowledged, we touched on this plenty of times. Something I want to say real quick too is, again, we talk about the defense. I mean, they're playing terrible. No sacks. They put 70 points up and you didn't get to the QB once. It's pitiful. There's no words. I mean, it's not 70 points. I think there's no words to begin with. Not even get to the QB once. It's just, this defense is a mess. And to your point, main thing, and we'll move on for this, but they have a lot of very good players on defense. I mean, when you have Pat Surtain on defense, there's no excuse to be allowing 70 points. Even that's just one player. They have plenty of guys that can hold their own. The bottom line is, yeah, get it together over there in Denver, because this, especially for how much I was gassing Sean Payton, he's making me look like a jackass over here. You know, it's like, geez, Lordy, get it together over there in Denver, boys. Man, this is, talk about worst case scenario. It's definitely what's going on in Denver right now.
Moving into Indiana at Baltimore, what is your updated record prediction for the Colts?
Can I go? Let's go 7-10.
You know, I was going to say 7-10 as well. 6-11, 7-10, anywhere from like 6 to 8 wins.
Oh, they're scrappy for sure, though. It's like, we're going to give some love where it's due. Like, I'll let you start out with this.
Yeah. I just think like also like the Colts were so like ridden with dysfunction last year that you really forgot that they actually had some nice pieces on their team. And you get good coaching in there, you get a rich and then a great backup in Gardner Minshew, and they're in every game. They're in every game they play. So anytime it's a close game, they can win. And this, what I will say is like their defense, legit. They're causing havoc for good teams. Like even like they were causing havoc for the Ravens. Their receiving core, I think, is much better than people give them credit for. And Minshew, I like I said, might be one of the best backups in the league. And then just last kind of thing I want to say on the Colts is that the team can be nasty in another year. Like if they develop a Rich right, he stays healthy. They add some pieces in the draft. They develop the players they drafted this year. Their special teams was great too. And we made a joke, but Matt Gay was worth the money.
we right our wrongs. We got to give a shout to Matt Gay, right? Look, so again, I think I want to start with the Colts because again, you love when a team's surprising you, right? I think what I want to start with is Zach Moss coming in and just kind of like churning through the ground. And, what makes this so odd is, in Buffalo, this was certainly not the case. He comes over here, running crazy behind this Colts O-line, back to how, as we've been saying, it's been the case forever, like situations for running backs are everything. Is same with quarterbacks, same with anything. Situations is everything in the NFL. Here we go with Zach Moss. He's in a great situation. You got to love to see it. He's making the most of the opportunity. And then, again, we know this was the best case scenario for us to see was, and we were, I don't know if anybody watching is OG enough to remember Minshew Mania a couple years ago, but Minshew Mania is a real thing. And again, where, he fun enough, but not just the fun. It's not just the fun. He makes enough plays, makes
Yeah.
enough good decisions, has enough of an arm where you're like, okay, yeah, again, this guy at the least is one of the best backups in the league, if not the best backup in the league. You got to love to have a guy like that on the roster. And it shows my thing that I was getting at is seeing him play, again, very just consistent football, for like operating the offense. You love to see it because then it's like, all right, when A-Rich comes back, we already knew this, but good continuity. When
Yeah.
when Gardner Minshew could come in, we could still win a game against a good opponent. You love to see that the team was ready to show up, ready to execute. Gives me a lot of faith I already had plenty, but in the future of A-Richie's development, which is perfect for our narratives. And then back over to the Ravens, I guess, I'm sure this one stings a lot for Ravens fans. This is kind of one of those ones that's going to be really tough to swallow kind of thing. But on the other hand, it's like this, and I'm going to say this for a few other teams today. I don't think this is like a defining moment for this team. I think this is more just like a really bad fork in the road, and they'll get around it though, little bump in the road, tough week. And again, against a team that was also, as we saw, very critically underrated, obviously, and we were one of the people that are critically underrating them. Shane Steichen has them ready to play. They're showing up, and the Ravens will bounce back.
Yeah. So my thing, just quickly on the Ravens, is I think their defense looked awesome, and the way they used Kyle Hamilton to blitz and blow up the backfield was so cool. He was game wrecking, like he was making plays all the time. So the Ravens defense, the more and more they gel and go on through the season, like they're definitely a top 5 unit in my opinion. And the offense, like we've said, it just looks so fluid. Lamar has played amazing, scrambling only when he needs to. And he does need to hold on to the football though. Like there was a couple fumbles in there that, that was a big theme of this week. I think as we get through the games is like ball security. There is a lot of lack of ball security early on this year, but Lamar was worth, like, if you watch this game, it's like Lamar's worth like every single dollar they paid him. And I would like to see them take like a couple more shots downfield though, like because they only took 2 shots past 20 yards and Lamar has a great arm.
I was saying, and he got Zay Flowers for a reason.
Yeah, you have a burner. So I don't know. Like I think this game was actually a very, very good game, even though it wasn't super high scoring. And honestly, like if I'm the Ravens, like if I'm Ravens fans, I'm not discouraged by this game. Like this is one of those games where both teams come away and like you're encouraged by what you saw.
No, and I was going to say too, so last thing, just because I almost forgot, I had a little Kyle Hamilton victory lap per se. When I was saying he's one of the best safeties in the offseason, people were saying, because I had him at number 2, everyone said I was, basically they were saying very mean things about me. But I'd say Kyle Hamilton showing up, he's showing you, look, Kyle Hamilton's going to be a beast for a long time. And number 2, Adefe Owe on the D line, really making a big jump this year. If you're a Ravens fan, you love to see that. You need your pass rushers, man, and he's dominating. So,
all right, moving into Dallas at Arizona. How much will the loss of Trayvon Diggs affect the defense?
See, after a week like last week, it's kind of like it's tough to evaluate, right? Because it's like it was just such a weird week where it's like, okay, because here's my thing. The Cardinals, more than anything, just ran the ball really well, ran the clock on them. I mean, it's like they didn't pass for over 200 yards, 189 yards, touchdown. Again, 4 incompletions, very effective day. Don't get me wrong, very effective day. Josh Dobbs got he got the job done for sure. But it's like, this is not one of those games where I'm going to look at it and be like, oh, the defense, completely shit the bed. I think if on the other hand, it's like, okay, the offense completely had a very rough day on the other, and they were making very crucial mistakes, and that's what's going to sell you. And it's like, that's just how I'm going to look at this game. So I think what I'm going to say is, yes, missing Trayvon Diggs is definitely going to be a big punch to the defense, but not something that they absolutely can't recover from. Not something, let me be clear, not something that should change the trajectory that the belief around Cowboys fans and the team should still be a Super Bowl berth and victory. I'm not saying that that's gonna, like a certainty or guarantee, to be absolutely clear, but I'm saying that still is the goal of this team.
Yeah.
This is not something that takes away from, we can't be a Super Bowl team anymore. No, absolutely not. Huge loss, but good teams, very good teams as the Cowboys are you supposed to believe at least that you have enough, moxie, enough outside of that you can recover from this. And I do believe that's the case.
Yeah. So I think the defense was kind of just unimpressive this game after like all the praise we gave to Dan Quinn. And it was just like you were saying, like, I don't know if they're adjusting to like Diggs, like being out, but for a team like the Cardinals, like you should be getting in the backfield like a lot of the time. And they weren't. And this is what I will say. it looks like they played down to their competition. And that is really my issue that I had with the Cowboys this game is, and also, again, I think they need like a big back to get those short yardage situations. Like, unless they're going to keep using the fullback, like they don't have that. And the last thing I'll say is, like, I understand there are injuries to the offensive line, but the Cowboys offense needed to be better this game. Like, this is an Arizona defense that is name me players on the defense besides Budda Baker.
I was saying, Gardeck's been playing really well this year.
Yeah.
There's a few guys that are playing above standard, but I agree completely where it's like you got to show up and you got at least got to make it
smoke the Cardinals.
At least if you're going to lose the Cards, you had to make it a possession game.
Yeah,
2 possessions.
This was bad. This was bad. Just moving on to Arizona, I just want to say shout out to the Cardinals O-line. Like, the amount of times like that Dobbs had to throw and how the Cardinals ran the ball was impressive, especially against the Cowboys. And for the situation that Dobbs has been put in, he's played like a lot better than expected. And just to finish up on the Cardinals really quick, their defense plays incredibly hard. It's a really good sign for a first-year head coach that the effort is this crazy. And even when the talent isn't there, like, you can feel that culture shift. And the Cardinals' schedule after this is extremely tough, but with the way they played today, I think they can squeeze out a couple more wins.
So wait, no, what you're saying is, the fire in the gut got them fired up.
Did they ride the bus? Or did they drive to work?
That's fucking crazy. Riding the bus got them boys gassed up.
If you're
out in Arizona, you gotta love to see it, man.
They rode the bus. But yeah, so do you have anything else you want to say on the Cardinals? Or should we
I'll say we're ready to move on to the next.
Moving into Atlanta at Detroit, do the Lions have one of the best run defenses in the league?
Lions fans, no, absolutely. And against, what you got to love if you're a Lions fan is this hasn't just been against like teams that are just kind of like using more of a committee bat. Well, actually, let me rephrase. I guess I can't say exactly. Some of them are, but there's always at least one star running back on that roster in the case of the Falcons, and you get my point. There's always stars that they've been playing against, and I guess if you consider Pacheco a star after last year too, that's kind of I guess depending on how you want to view that. But you get my point. Running backs that have proven they can run the damn ball, go over 100 yards, and the Lions are definitely playing very elite run defense on all these guys. They're filling the gaps perfectly, and again, from what we were seeing last year, the jump that we're seeing this year. Oh, man, you got to love to see it. The young guys making the jumps like Lee McNeil, Hutch. The D-line is just, you love to see it if you're a Lions fan. And you love to see it if you're like me and your narrative was that the Lions were going to make a huge jump, and you too. It's kind of like, well, the Lions are filling out the narrative kind of how we saw it coming, I guess. Yeah. I'll admit, though, the D-line does look better than I thought it was going to look this year.
Yeah, so I guess my thing too is with the defense, like, here was my biggest surprise. Like, in my opinion, like, the Atlanta offense really lives and dies by the rushing game. And to be able to shut down a team like Atlanta in the rushing game, I mean, like, what they held them to 44 yards. Like 44 yards was from one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. Like, that to me is great. So I'm trying to pull up the rushing defense, and yeah, they are currently 5th in yards allowed per game for rushing. Like, that is top 5. So, let's see where they're at passing. Passing, they're more middle of the pack.
Yeah, I would say right in that middle of the pack.
A little lower middle of the pack. But at the end of the day, like, that's a huge improvement. Like, super, super cool to see. Another thing also is they made Ritter play quarterback. And I feel like this is going to be a theme we see. Like, the total Atlanta offense was only 183 yards. And if they can be a top 15 defense, that's really all they need. So basically on the other side of things, on the offense is, their offense is going to score every week. And Laporta, again, is proving that he legit,
elite,
realistically could be top 10 by the end of the year.
Elite. He already is elite siren. Elite.
If the Lions keep improving on defense and stay efficient on offense, plus they get J-Mo back, they're a top team in the NFC. They already are, in my opinion.
Whenever I'm watching, I'm like, oh my goodness, wait a minute. This offense is about to get way more cooked in a good way. Cooked is the wrong word, but they're going to be cooking way more.
Yeah. Moving over to Atlanta just quickly, they have to find a solution at quarterback. It's just like this offense can be so explosive, and it's not. They were 4 for 12 on passes over 10 plus yards. You can't have this when you have London and Pitts. Teams are going to start selling out to stop the run, which I think is what Detroit did, and it crippled the offense. It crippled them. Their defense was okay against the run, but they're going to struggle against like high flying offenses. Like they really are, and they're lucky because I looked at their schedule and they do not play many explosive offenses. But if you're not going to have a great defense, like your offense needs to operate in two different games. And basically all I was saying is like their rushing offense got shut down and they look like a different team. So they got to figure it out.
So, bro, this game couldn't have come on better timing because, like we were just saying last week, it's like, I wasn't even saying this about the Falcons. I said about another team. I think it was the Vikings, but it was about last year. But like when you're getting by on something, you're going to get exposed soon enough.
Yeah.
The Falcons were getting by, like you said, on this, and they're going to keep getting by on it when it's the time. When they can just run the ball through the clock, they're going to get by on it. But when Desmond Ritter's got to make shots, right? And again, this was the game where there was a couple shots, gimmies.
Yeah.
Gimmies, and you need to have them. You need to have them. To K. Pitts especially, man, tough. And again, it's from a fan base perspective. Falcons fans will be the first to say, it's like this is the type of thing that's the hardest to watch, where it's like, okay, we have everything else we need, and we need a guy that's going to make the shot. And you've seen this. You got the guy, he can't make the shot. He cannot make the downfield shots. And it's going to be, again, hasn't been like a huge narrative yet because we're still early in the season. The Falcons being more successful, it looks like on the upward trend is still relatively new. But the discussions will start soon, like how desperately the Falcons need a quarterback. Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. And Justin Fields will be there shortly enough. Moving into Los Angeles Chargers at Minnesota. Should the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins? We've been talking about this for quite a while now.
Oh, bro. Like, let me just be rigid, and I'll let you go after this, but let me be rigid. If they don't find a way to get the trigger pulled by the deadline, I think it does very much, in a sense, dictate the future of this team positively or negatively in every sense, where it's like, again, let me be clear, Vikings fans probably get ready to lose it on me, but Kirk Cousins is an amazing quarterback right now, right? He's a great quarterback right now.
Yeah, he's on pace to throw for 6,000 yards.
Right, this is not hate on Kirk Cousins. Maybe amazing is a little too much praise, but he's playing at a great level right now. I'm going to leave it at that. So it's nothing to do with Kirk. That has to do with the fact that the Vikings built the roster the wrong way. And you can't keep building around a 35, 36-year-old guy who's going to be 37 soon or whatever, 37 in the near future. You get my point. It just does not work. He's going to be, and the point more anything is he's leaning towards 40 and they still have plenty of things they need to figure out. Building around Kirk is obviously not the move. Everyone knows this. It's being realistic. And again, like I've even said, best case scenario is what? You make a deep run, or even in best case, go all the way with Kirk somehow, some way in the next couple years. Okay, and then he's old and you have to restart with a whole base of team that needs, it just does not work. It does not work. And that's the most blessed best case scenario. They need to start the rebuild basically now. And the best year to do it is now.
Yeah.
It's like, get it out the way. Stop hesitating. You were 0-3 when your offense is playing at its best level. It's a sign. You talk about a sign from the universe. Like, this is that sign to the whole Vikings organization.
And that's the thing is, like, they've been like going back and forth with this, like, oh, should we rebuild? Like, they're in a competitive rebuild. But the thing with competitive rebuilds are you're never bad enough to get the top players in the draft. And the issue is also another reason they're 0-3 is because they've given the ball away on an average 3 times a game. 9 turnovers through 3 weeks. That is the reason they are 0-3. Like we were talking about ball security. They've only taken the ball away twice. So it's a negative 7 point turnover differential. This is why they lost the game. The offense is the only reason they stay in games. Defense has been bad. It has been bad. Kirk is playing well. The O-line is surprised considering all the injuries. But the Vikings at the end of the day are by far the best of the 0-3 teams. And you should see the record correct itself some point in the season, but they're going to be consistently in shootouts because they can't create turnovers and they're giving it over and they're allowing 40% conversions on third down. Like 40% of the time the other team's converting. So I don't know. Like I honestly think like the Chargers got saved this game. Like it wasn't like a good win for either team. That's the thing is like, even though the Chargers got the win, it was not like a great win. Their offense continued to look great. Mike Williams going out is going to hurt them a lot, but the run game wasn't existent. It could be a mix of things like not having Eckler, the Vikings selling out to stop the run, getting stomped on by the Eagles last week. But I don't know. You got to get a run game because in my opinion, like what Herbert did today, like Herbert, I just want to give props. I've not been a hater on Herbert, but just like have questioned like his elite abilities. He's playing amazing right now. Keenan Allen had a great day, and I hope Quentin Johnson can step up. Um, the defense played better, but there's still improvements to be made. Their fifth most amount in points scored or points allowed, which is going to kill this team because their sixth most. Their offense is like sixth in points scored. So similar to kind of what we were talking about, or what we'll talk about with the Seahawks. But overall, the team is progressing. The defense, in my opinion, has to be top 15 for Staley to keep his job. Like, why are you defensive head coach and your defense sucks? So,
Yeah, no, this either way. I guess I'm gonna start with that. And just get over that quickly. Yeah, this does not in any way reinvigorate the keep Staley around wagon
yeah.
on the other. No. Yeah, no. We're just gonna start with that. Because again, they almost folded the game. And side note, but I'm sure Chargers fans are just feeling very much how and I guess we'll touch on this later again from our perspective. How Saints fans are feeling at this point, man, they just cannot play one. It's just like a game where it's just this is just good flow. Where we play good flow start to finish. Like there's always some. There's always like in a Chargers game. There's always some crazy moments, right? And
Yeah.
it's just getting out of hand at this point, but it's just funny. But yeah, okay. Jokes aside, I do think Quentin Johnson is going to step in and play a lot better than he's been playing. He hasn't been getting too many opportunities. You're looking at the numbers. You're like, come on, let's see. Someone who's drafted so highly touted coming out. Let's see him get some more targets. Let's see him get some more opportunities. I think that's what we're going to start seeing. And then with the Chargers defense, I guess what I wanted to say main thing is if you're a Chargers fan, you got to love seeing Kenneth Murray finally make a big play because he's been struggling for a while now. For especially where he's drafted, he's never really lived up to that. See him make a big play, maybe turn the season around. But yeah, I agree with you. Chargers defense, all in all, though, still. And also Thule making him play the rookie. You love to see that, getting a sack, getting in the backfield. It's just, but all in all, this defense, they had a good day getting to the quarterback. But again, still all in all, underwhelming unit. You want to see them start really, really playing with an identity, and they still haven't really started doing that yet. Team's still struggling. And like you said, against the Vikings, who, yes, best team that is terrible, right? Like that best team that is not playing well. But on the other hand, it's like, the Vikings still have things. That's the point is you still have things you hold on to. You still have good pieces to build around once you get rid of Kirk. But like you said, if you keep hanging around in this middle of the pack territory, because even if let's say you keep Kirk all year, they'll get enough wins where I don't think they'll be top even 5 pick. They'd be, whatever.
10 to 15.
Right, 10 to 15, 7 to 8,
They'll make
7
the
to 15.
playoffs.
But yeah, nothing we're going to
No.
very likely at least be able to grab the future of the franchise 100% certain. Where you're like, I'm very confident in the future of this being the guy.
All right, let's move into Buffalo at Washington. Is the Bills defense underrated?
So yeah, I say my thing on this is like they're underrated because you haven't really heard anyone talking about them.
No.
And you need to, because at this point, and again, okay, let's be clear. Sam Howell, obviously, maybe if including we didn't even jump the gun. We just asked questions. But I think maybe some people, including a lot of Commanders fans, maybe jumped the gun a little bit with the expectations. Sam Howell, this is back to reality game. The 4 interceptions and no touchdowns, very rough. But again, this is against the Bills defense who needs to be talked about more. This defense is absolutely dominating. I don't remember the exact statistic, but it's like something about either the number of touchdowns they've allowed or the touchdowns allowing a game is just like, it's just incredibly low at the moment. I don't remember the exact statistic. I won't say if I don't remember it. But the point is they are allowing very little people getting in the end zone. It's very, very tough time to get in the end zone against the Bills. And more than just that, on top of the whole thing is it's like Josh Allen didn't play a spectacular game either, right? I mean, when you're putting up 37 points, when Josh Allen is 218 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and the completion percentage, nothing crazy, you gotta love it. And I know they were churning out a lot of rushes. Bottom line is though, this defense is absolutely electric unit, and they are not getting enough attention right now. Pass rush is much improved this year. Everything about this defense is much improved.
Yeah, I mean the defense, in my opinion, it's an elite unit, and they're flying around making plays. I really don't have much to say. It's just like if they can keep this up, like the Bills, again, should be contending for a Super Bowl. Like the Bills, I feel like just need to get over the hump and at least get into the bowl. And I'd like to see that where that played out. And like their offense was extremely balanced. They had 33 run plays, 32 pass plays, like runs in terms of like some of the runs were from Josh Allen. They may have been pass plays that turned into runs, but he only threw for 218 yards but they ran as 168 as a team. Like the Bills being able to add like a run game to their offense, which is something they haven't been able to do the last couple of years, is very crucial in my opinion. It keeps teams on their toes and they can't just sell out to stop the pass. But at the end of the day, like the Bills are contenders, and like Allen and Diggs are they haven't lost a step. So it's kind of like the same old Bills, but kind of like building on everything that they've been working for the last couple years. Um, just to briefly go over Washington, like I think they really showed like kind of who they are as a team. Like this year, like they got checked by an elite unit, and they can compete with the mid-tier teams and they can outscore them because of their offense, but as a team, they're just not ready to make that jump yet into like that next tier. The offense was mostly horrible. I mean, they were 1 for 9 on third down conversions. Howell had 4 interceptions. It really put this game away. I mean, you can't have 4 interceptions against an elite offense. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't give the ball to an elite offense that many times. Like, they're gonna shut you out. And the only really highlight on offense has to be B Rob. He had 70 yards on 10 carries, and he's been good like pretty much every game this year. So it's nice to see him really get in his groove. But they turned the ball over 5 times to the Bills, so you're not going to win like that. And despite the score, the defense honestly didn't play terrible. I mean, the Bills were 9 for 15 on third down conversions, but the Bills had 10 more minutes, 10 more the ball. They had the ball for 10 more minutes than the Commanders. So if you're constantly putting your defense on the field versus an elite offense, they're bound to score. Like,
So, and no, and last thing I want to say on this, but because I was very high on him coming into the year, I think a lot of people were, especially, if you had him in Dynasty Fantasy like me right here. But, Jahan Dotson was saying he was about to have a big breakout. He was calling it himself. And I would say not necessarily regression from last year, but man, Jahan Dotson is struggling to get going. So if you're a Commanders fan, you definitely want to see that change soon. Well, and if you have him in fantasy, so.
yeah, yeah. Moving into Carolina at Seattle. Does Seattle have one of the best offenses in the league?
Oh, absolutely. And again, JSN has not even really stepped up or shown anything crazy yet by any means. So there's still room for improvement on this unit, right? But yeah, all in all, again, Seahawks are definitely one of the better offenses in the league. What happened week one, tough, but I think it was more just week one, you never really know what's going to happen. We've seen good teams have terrible week ones. It can happen to the best of them. And I think that was one of those. I think we're going to see pretty consistently from here on out. Seahawks are not going to put up 13 points. I think the Seahawks are going to keep putting up above 20, 25 every week. And you're going to see that pretty consistently because, again, they have so many weapons, so much going on, and the run game's getting going as well. Seahawks offense is definitely an elite unit. I'd say also DK Metcalf. We were talking on it last week. DK's been going absolutely crazy this year. So
I think DK really took that step this year. I think the people were waiting on him. But they remain high scoring. The run game was great. Kenneth Walker shined. They did a really good job spreading the ball around. Although they always scored like 3 touchdowns, putting your kicker in position to get 5 field goals, which basically adds 2 touchdowns, is like good enough in my opinion if you're going to put up 37 points. Overall, like the defense, they are bad. Like they allowed 400 yards of offense to the Panthers. They're tied for 3rd most in yards allowed, 4th in points allowed, but the offense is 4th in points scored. So unless there's an improvement, it's going to be tight games all year because their defense just can't stop anyone. And they're just hampered by a bad defense. And, you're going to have to, at the end of the day, rely on Geno Smith in shootouts. Just going over to Carolina, the offense functions better with a vet. And the O-line looks like it took a step back, which is bad because that was like the bright spot last year. If Dalton played, they would have more wins this year, but they need to develop Bryce Young. And like that, I guess, is really the struggle of this team is like how bad actually are they? Is it like a rookie QB or is it everything else? And I think it, for the most part, is a lot of things, not just Bryce Young.
right.
But Miles Sanders, 2.7 yards per carry. The run game is bad. Like it is bad.
Again, back to them signing him in the first place.
Why?
Like, what was the money? What?
Thielen, I don't know what the fuck is happening with Thielen. He's just eating up every target. 11 catches, 145 yards on a touchdown.
Man's just playing like prime self. What is going on with this dude, man?
He's so slow still.
That's what's so funny about it.
I think it's just the Seahawks bad.
Yeah, see, the Seahawks had him looking like
fucking
prime Adam Thielen.
Justin Jefferson out there. But the defense, was actually pretty stout. They held the Seahawks to 3 for 13 on third down. They got 2 sacks and an interception. Allowing the Seahawks, though, to get into field goal range multiple times is really what killed them. Like that bend, don't break. But all in all, like Carolina's a team that's struggling to find an identity, and losing key pieces on defense is not good. Like J.C. Horn, Shaq Thompson. The O-line regressed. Frank Wright's offense looks better run by Andy Dalton. And it's like, that's not a good sign for Bryce Young.
I feel like it's to be expected right now, especially after last year. Like, I'm going to admit, Andy Dalton came in, he's playing a lot better in the Saints offense than I had expected. Like, I think he's also just kind of in that veteran groove in his career. It's like, give me an offense with it's very simple to operate, like nothing crazy, which is how it is right now. And it's like, I'm going to get the job done.
Yeah.
But I do agree. You want to see Bryce start to make a few more splash plays a week.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say on the Panthers, or do you want to move on?
Not on this week. Move on to the next one.
All right. Let's move on to Chicago at Kansas City. Are the 2023 Bears the worst team in the last decade?
I'm going to say this. I don't have an objective answer right now because I actually have to go back and look statistically at everyone else before I answer this. But what I will say is, from the eye test, yes. From purely top. I'm trying not to be too funny and I'm just trying to get objective. But man, it's like this. It's like, how could you not make jokes? Because I don't make jokes about us. Oh, look at this. Look at the clown here. Because fucking jokes aside, bro, I was gassing this team coming into the year.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, the Bears love making me look like a jackass. They do. And the funniest part is, if you know me in real life, I will behind the scenes call out how terrible the structure of this organization is and has been and all these things. When it's showtime and I wanted them to turn things around for the city and I want everyone to not be so gosh darn depressed about this team, I try to hype them up. You know what they make me do? They make me look like a jackass every time. So I think what I've decided for the future is I'm never gassing this team up until they show me any type of structure. So something changes in the front office. I don't fucking know what needs to change. Everything at the moment. I'm just going to leave the rest to an avid fan of the Bears. You're not even a Bears fan. That's just, I'm passionate. I've become passionate to see any type of growth in this team because I live here. And it's like, they like seeing the city depressed. It's the conclusion I've come to recently, bro.
It's like, here's my thing. It's like, I'm going to go on the Chiefs first because there's really not much to say. The Chiefs defense has been good. They destroyed the Bears. They only allowed the Bears to compete when their backups were in. That's the only time the Bears actually had any type of chance of being okay. With Kelsey in the offense, the weight seems to be lifted off those young receivers. Rice is making nice strides. So is Sky Moore. And if you see these wide receivers develop, and the defense continue to be good, the Chiefs Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl winners, you can put them in there, barring any injury in Mahomes. Now to the Bears, because there's really, like I said, not much to say about the Chiefs. They allowed 456 yards on defense, and their secondary
this headache
was supposed to be the bright spot. It's insanely thin and injured. They just claimed another guy today off a practice squad. They didn't register a single sack. They're tied for 31st with one sack through 3 weeks. This is the worst defense in the league besides the Giants. You can tell the players were not energized or not coached to compete. The Chiefs were 10 for 14 on third down, and so far, they are allowing a 60% conversion rate on third down. 60%. Think about that. 60%. The offense couldn't do anything. Fields led the team with 47 rushing yards. He only had 99 through the air. The team barely got over 200 yards of offense. The wide receivers were not getting open. They were 4 for 12 on third down. Fields is not the only problem, but he's part of the problem. This team had so many issues that need to be addressed. And this year is cooked. And the thing is, how do you
fried.
It's fried. Realistically, I've been thinking about this. How do you go about it? Okay. The Bears have never fired a coach midseason. Okay. You can fire a coach midseason, but your DC is already gone. So then you have a second year play caller who would assume responsibility if you don't fire him. But the issue is you have young talent you still have to develop. But these guys aren't developing under their current coaches. But if you fire them, they're definitely not getting developed. So it's what do you do? And it's just this team at the end of the day, I think needs to just fire all the coaches, get what they can for Justin Fields, and just start over. If you got to move on from the GM, so you have a new GM, new coach, new quarterback, all in the same year, then do it. But this is not it. It is so bad. It is so horrible to watch. And I just don't know what you do.
Okay, so again, and this was the point I want to bring up because I said before the show is someone want to talk about the Bears, and I almost forgot, but it's perfect timing, especially because it's on the show now. I think the biggest problem with the Bears is it's the scheme that also we talk about the defense, the scheme they're trying to run.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the Tampa 2, a lot of the, cover 2. Like, they don't have anybody to just dominate the middle of the line of scrimmage on defense. They don't have that. And then number 2, you have 2-man corners playing soft zones. Like, what's the like Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson?
Yeah.
You got 2 press man guys. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
Well, that's the thing is
by
like
we, I mean the city of Chicago at this point because I don't even associate with this nonsense. But what is Chicago doing?
Dobbs, I'm gonna let you keep going, but the thing is like they claimed a guy off the practice squad who's like 6'4", a big guy, and then Brad Spielberger made the point. He's like, okay, now they're just gonna misuse him and play him in soft zone. Like he's a man corner.
No, there is and that's just they the way that we touched from a whole other we're talking about schematical things while we're on the subject. We're talking about earlier this week about how minimal they blitz, how minimal they create pressure. Their scheme sucks. Like I'm not
So
like
bad.
it's not even. It's one of them things where you look at there's always a situation every you can circle where you're like, they're so fucking bad that they're like basically not even playing at an NFL level. Like they're like below the competition level at the moment. Yeah, that's everything about the Bears right now, and especially the Bears defense. Like they're like a whole other entity playing in the NFL with how poorly everything is structured. It's disgusting. You can see the disgust, the disgust. What is it? You just see the disgust on our faces.
Oh, it's
You don't have to pluralize it. There's just disgust in this fucking room at the moment with the Bears.
it's just like I'm so over them, and it's like I so badly want this NFL season to be over because it's just like there's zero hope for the Bears, and like it's only going to like here's the thing: you think this is bad, it will always get worse. Like there is always a worse version of what you're seeing, and it's going to happen with the Bears this year. They don't get better. He's going to lose the locker room when they're 0-7.
Oh, that's the locker room's already like. Let's be real. This
I think it's lost, but
and let's just move on before it gets more depressing. The Bears have so much they need to fucking figure out, and that's again, it's going to take more than just this year. They have to completely like I don't know what the word here like reflip the damn hourglass and have it like they need to restart the whole process because it's like no.
Moving in to New Orleans at Green Bay.
Talk about another depressing one.
Will Alvin Kamara revive the Saints running game?
Here's my honest answer for you. And again, from a Saints fan here, honest answer, no. Because at the moment, every Saints fan knows. The issue with the run game is not even the running backs. The issue with the run game is our offensive line.
Yeah.
Man, what's going on? I'm not trying to, I'm thinking how I want to approach this. Because I don't want to just be insulting towards the squad of our line, because I do believe that they're a very talented unit. That's what makes this, what's going on, so weird, is as a Saints fan, the bread and butter of the squad has always been, in the last 10, 15 years, the O-line, very dominant trenches. Even at worst come to worst, you're going to be able to see the team run the ball, right? Like, we're going to be able to move the ball, run the ball. That's what should look easy is going to look easy. It has not been the case. I'll even say, kind of started to see this just trend happening last year, but then it really started to come to fruition this year where the O-line is just kind of falling off the rails. Ramczyk looks like I don't want to say shell of his former self because I do believe he can return to his former self. And moreover, I'll switch over to my main point here is I do believe a lot of this is happening because, and I'm going to hop on the train, right when we hired Doug Marrone to be our offensive line coach, it was right when all this regression started happening.
Yeah.
And mind you, the run blocking is not the issue. The run blocking it's an issue. Again, I know I've been saying like it's all the issue. I'm not, let me be clear. It is an issue. It's not the whole issue. The whole issue is the fact that the pass blocking too is completely regressed. Because, there's always been issues here and there with whatever else. But the pass blocking around here was always, and especially these guys have been really good over the past couple years. Eric McCoy, Ramczyk, very good pass blockers. This year, we can't pass block for shit. The unit looks terrible. Just being honest. I went from trying to be just very objective and and now I'm just being completely honest. It sucks right now. Saints fans know. The Saints themselves, they know deep down this is not it. O-line has got to step it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think, as much as I wish, Kamara's going to help out in the pass game, because I do believe he'll be able to help out with, getting things open in the flat. Yeah, he'll provide an element no matter what in the screen game. And it's not his fault, but in the run game, it comes down to our line guys stepping up.
Yeah. No, that's my thing is like I didn't really think the Saints offense looked that great, even though they're leading most of the game. And especially after Carr got injured, it was just kind of like, damn, I thought they had the Packers. I really did. And they didn't get the run game going. The passing game was pedestrian. Like the bright side is like you see Olave as that guy.
That's the one. And Shaheed, I guess.
Shaheed made a great
and
play.
Thomas looks good again too.
But. Yeah. It's just like, Thomas should be good and everything. Like the Saints defense, like I would hope they would have generated like a little bit more pressure.
The corners looked fine.
Like, because like my thing is like the Packers already had 2 backup linemen in. So why they didn't, like, they did a really good job limiting the run, but like we don't know how that would have been if Aaron Jones was in. Like, we know AJ Dillon has not been that great lately. But getting that interception was good, but missing their Packers are also missing their top. So I'm just rambling, but at the end of the day, like, I think the Saints are the more talented roster, but it was very frustrating not seeing them not capitalize on a team that's down and obviously not as like good as you. And that's not to discredit the Packers. I think the Packers are a fine team, but it's just like you got to capitalize on those moments.
That's the thing is, let me be clear. That's what makes it so frustrating, because you'll agree. Let me kind of like, this is what makes it so frustrating from my perspective. And it falls back to one man. We'll address him in a minute. But the problem is that if Derek Carr didn't get injured, I know you can always play like this didn't, and I know it's a stupid game to play. We're gonna play it for a second. The whole like, if he didn't get injured, we would have won that game, right? But here's my thing. Okay, what happens is when Derek Carr gets injured, this is the problem with the Saints right now. This has been a thing since he's come, and I'm giving him credit. Dennis Allen does look a lot better this year. This is not the guy that falls on. I'm gonna say this in a second. But there's a problem where under Dennis Allen's leadership, whenever kind of like something happens in the game or some injury will happen that kind of like, you got to buckle down and like really regroup and like, just move on. It seems like we can never do that the day of. It's always like the Saints are very like, they sway emotionally. Like if things are going well and everything's how it's supposed to be, Saints are playing really well. But if it's not and someone gets injured or something doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, that game plan, it's kind of like the wheels just fall off. And here's what I think it comes down to too. I guess I said the man it comes down to. Pete Carmichael has been capped out this year. Oh man, he's been capped out.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand, this is my thing too, and I'll shut up after this, but I don't understand how we went from running the ball effectively, getting the clock chewed with Derek Carr out there, to like, oh, Derek's injured, let's just basically go like air raid with Jameis.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. We were throwing the ball more with Jameis out there, who has been getting no reps with the starters. What are we doing? Like, Pete Carmichael, man, if you can hear this somehow, bro, dude, please start throwing more screens. Please start being more. I want to see a more balanced game plan. We're either throwing a lot or running a lot. And it's like, can we just do them in tangent like we have been at our best? I'm going to shut up and leave it at that.
So, yeah, I'll leave on the Saints on that. But going into Green Bay, the Saints, even though they led most of the game, like Green Bay, I think did a really good job like creating pressure on the Saints. They got 4 sacks and they held you guys to 252 yards. So, they also did great on third down. Y'all were only 4 for 14 on third. And it's like, I feel like the third down conversions are so big in the games. Like, if you don't convert on third downs, like, obviously you're going to give up the ball. But it's like, if your percentage is low, it's just like, that's how the game's going to go. Love kind of showed up late. But you could still see that, like, he has a couple passes every game where he just, like, he'll sail them. Like the guy will be wide open, he'll sail him. And you'd hope, like, that he gets it figured out. But he was only 50% on his completion percentage today. And, obviously he's getting more pressure because of the left tackle and left guard being out, but still I feel like you got to be better. The run game was not good. You can tell very clearly they're missing their starters. And, they played as a team late and they got the clutch win. It was a gritty win for a young Packers team. And I think that's really good for them going forward. But overall, like, good on offense and defense. Like, it wasn't a very high scoring game. Like, it was a team game that they eventually came out with the win in the end. So that's what I had to say on the Packers.
No, I'm just gonna touch off that real quick and then we'll move on. But yeah, no, my thing is, again, Jordan Love, I'm gonna keep riding the victory lap because yes, missed some throws, played, but again, very tough defense, very tough situation with missing a lot of your receivers, your O-line.
Yeah,
he did what he had to do, and I'm big on when you show it when it matters most.
Yep.
He showed up when it mattered most, and he looked so confident.
Yeah,
you love to see it if you're a Packers fan. You definitely do.
Yep.
Salty moment for the Saints, but we'll take it because it boosted my own narrative. You guess we'll take it we'll take the good with the bad.
New England at New York Jets. Is Robert Saleh on the hot seat?
Well, again, we certainly did not think so, right? Like, if you guys said, again, it was one of those kind of things we'd laugh about coming into the season, like, oh, Robert Saleh on the hot seat. How could this happen? Well, the only situation basically where it would have allowed for this to happen has happened. A-Rod not playing, hurt, and now Zach Wilson's getting all the reps and losing the locker room. And it's exactly what's happened. Again, because I don't know if a lot of people may not be in the loop all the way on this yet, but apparently, again, I don't know, I cannot confirm any of this for truth, but apparently, allegedly, you know how this goes. But he's losing the locker room because he's really riding high on the belief in Zach. And as you can tell, obviously, with everyone else on this roster, as has been the narrative forever now, this has been. They don't believe in Zach. The roster themselves does not believe in Zach. There is a huge teams that should be connected like this. They have no connection. They don't believe that there's no belief as a unit in the quarterback. So we're at a crossroads here, and the Salah's either going to make the right decision, and obviously he has a good relationship with Zach, but he's going to have to push away from that and kind of get rigid on the stance of like, we need to do something immediately. I need to have a backup plan. And if he doesn't, I do think he'll probably find himself looking for and being hired. Obviously, he's a good guy. He knows football, but looking for a new job somewhere else after the season, because we talk about it as a whole, the Jets, and again, let me be clear. This is tough because it also very much hinges on how the A-Rod situation goes. A-Rod believes in him very much, right? That's what makes this tough is it's like, okay, is A-Rod all the way on him? And that's where I'm sure the decision would have much to come down with how A-Rod feels about the situation too. But I do know that that's the situation right now is that he apparently is losing the locker room, and I just can roll with what I know.
Yeah, to be honest, like this offense is like abysmal without Aaron Rodgers. And like the O-line wasn't doing them any favors, but like their skill position was so talented. And like you see Garrett Wilson suffering, you see Breece Hall suffering. The Jets backfield had 38 yards. Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall should not have 38 yards. Total offense, 171. The O-line has to be better. They're 2 for 14 on third down. I don't necessarily think Robert Saleh is on the hot seat, but at the same time, like, here's my thing. And my dad brought this up to me, and it was a very good point that I didn't think about. Why did nobody plan if Aaron Rodgers went down? Why did they not have a vet in that locker room that said, what if Aaron Rodgers goes down? Because we know what the Zach Wilson Jets are. Why did they not go, even if you're trading a 5th round pick for a vet quarterback, why the fuck are you not doing it? Now this is what you get. Their defense, which was supposed to be the bright side of their team, they give up 358 yards to a very mid Patriots offense. They got 0 sacks and 0 turnovers. They only allowed 15 points. But I feel like you have to generate a turnover. You know what this offense is.
They're stout in the red zone, but they've been bending to the red zone. And again, the point is that necessarily does not work forever. Every single week, you can't count on bending to we never let, we're not going to let them in.
Bend don't break.
Yeah, you can't count on that every single week being perfectly executed. So
the Jets are screwed as long as they have Zach Wilson as their quarterback. Like, it's going to be the same as last year. Trevor Siemian is not their savior.
Oh, let me tell you, from a personal perspective, he absolutely is not the savior. Not that he can't do some things, but he certainly is not the savior of a team. I'm literally telling you from perspective of a team that kind of tried the same thing. No.
All right, let's talk mid. The Patriots offense, they're okay. The running game had a nice day. Zeke had a nice day. But again and again, like you see that they are lacking that true star in offense. And in games where there's great teams, they're going to struggle to put up points. They had 358 yards of offense, but half the points came from field goals. So it's like you have all these yards and you're not scoring. So it's like, I understand that the Jets defense is good and like the bend don't break, but it's like, I don't know, against another team with a competent offense, you're losing. The defense, great job generating pressure. But they needed to, in my opinion, to make this game a little bit more like out of reach, they needed to generate a turnover, which they didn't do. I've said this all year. They're a solid team. The offense is average. The defense will keep them in games, but unless a star emerges, the Patriots are just a middle of the road team.
They're literally perfect candidates to fit into that territory of just, and they're kind of like we said about certain teams now where they're gonna just be very into that, not getting a high enough draft pick to like completely turn everything around, but you're also not gonna like be terrible. So it's like a very weird territory to be in. And I also feel it's like a weird point how I feel about Mac Jones because he shows you some good and he shows you some bad. And he just doesn't show you enough.
Yeah,
it's like it's kind of like a weird thing. Also, he's played some good defenses. It's like I guess I kind of still have to wait to form a full opinion on Mac Jones this year, but there's definitely gonna be a much more fully formed opinion by the end of the year. I'll say give him credit where it's due for a second. Ever since I said the Patriots run game was quote unquote literally I called it just I didn't have a word for it. I said it was garbage basically. Definitely turned it around a lot. Starting to really actually produce on the ground. Not anything crazy, not anything world beating, but enough to get the job done against a good defense. So I'd say, yeah, but the Patriots are still a middle of the road team. The Jets are on an absolute spiral, and That's really all you can take away from this game at the end of the day.
Yeah. Pittsburgh at Las Vegas. When will Devontae Adams be traded?
Man. When did you know what? Say week 7.
I just feel like it has to happen, man. Like with what's going on with Josh Jacobs, he's looking like he's not going to be signed for very much next year. Devontae doesn't want to keep losing. It's been a common theme. And I believe if the Raiders aren't 500, that he's probably just going to request a trade because Jimmy G throwing 3 interceptions when he came here to play with Carr. It's just like this offense has talent, but it needs help from the line. It needs help from the quarterback play. I don't know if they believe in McDaniels. The Steelers' offensive line is below average as well. And the Raiders only came away with 1 sack. Like, come on. Like, you have to do more. I know it's Max Crosby. Like, you have Tyree Wilson. He's doing nothing. Like, they're graded in the bottom 20 in like almost all defensive metrics on PFF besides tackling. So it's hard to find bright spots on the Raiders. Like, other than like the obvious answers, like there's no good like bright spots that you can really look to. And I feel like if they don't perform, Devontae tries to get out of here, and I don't really know what happens to McDaniels.
Well, yeah, so I'll start with McDaniels because, and again, I wish I did. I should have I should have just written this down. But I remember I heard something about how something with McDaniels right now in the locker room. Again, I wish I had more to say on it. I was something to the effect though of something with maybe him starting to lose the locker room.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, you and me saw this coming from day one of the hire. I mean, this has kind of been the it's the Josh Daniels MO. You know, it kind of it unfortunately has been very rigid guy. And when the results aren't there and you're a very rigid person, what starts to happen is there's a disconnect that grows, right? It's just simple. That's just simple human psychology. And that's exactly what I feel like is probably already starting to occur with the Raiders. And yeah, and also with Devontae. I mean, when you play like he did, 13 receptions, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. You're averaging 13.2 yards a catch, and the team's still losing. You have to play perfect to even keep the team in the game right now. The team is still not good. I'd say, yeah, if you're looking for a bright spot on the team, if you're a Raiders fan, it's Max Crosby. Other than that, there's obviously more, but it's like the Raiders, it's tough. And this was, again, I think when you looked at it objectively, though, you did see that the Raiders might have a really tough year in coming if things didn't go perfectly. And that's kind of the trajectory we're on to now.
Yeah.
It's like, but I'll move on to Steelers for a second.
Yeah.
Onto the Steelers side of things. From the way that things started off in the year, I think every Steelers fan would say, okay, it's kind of like a sigh of relief. Like, yeah, Kenny P's maybe not showing you all the biggest jump you wanted to see. But on the other hand, he's showing you that, hey, look, I'm going to bounce back. I'm at least going to hang in there. I'll keep us, I'm going to manage the games. And, you want to see more. But I think what you'd like to see if you're a Steelers fan is that he's improved, I'd say, at each game so far. And if he can keep that trend up, it's a good trend to keep up. And we'll see how far he can push it. Steelers' run game, though, definitely still pretty pedestrian. I think something I want to touch on is I saw that Matt Canada is now working directly with Kenny P week to week. And, when you first hear that, you're probably like, well, what? Like, doesn't he work with him every week? Certain NFL teams, everyone does everything differently. Sometimes, the way he works is obviously was much more behind getting the schematics, drawing things up. It was more QB coach, obviously, if all QB coach, how it was working with Kenny P at practice. Well, now Matt Canada is going to be directly with Matt. Matt's going to be with Matt. You know what I'm saying? Matt's going to be with Kenny P every single day at practice, a couple times a week, if not every day, I can't say, but at least a couple times a week. They're getting together, actually talking one-on-one. I think that'll help out a lot. I think we're going to see the offense start to look a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. Just stable. Just a stable.
Hopefully.
You'll see what they're trying to do every week a little bit more. And the Steelers defense, that's the strength of this team. Those Steelers defense is still absolutely fantastic. Keanu Benton has just absolutely come out. And let me just say it like this. He was the second round D lineman for sure. And everyone else, everyone passed on Keanu Benton, and Keanu Benton was definitely first round talent. TJ Watt came back and is just playing absolutely ballistic.
Monster.
This D line is fantastic.
So that was my main thing is like the defense is obviously the strong point of this team and was all over the Raiders. They generated 4 sacks. They got 3 interceptions, but until this offense finds its groove, like they're going to have to win them games. The running game wasn't like horrible, but Najee and Warren both were kind of inefficient. 3.4 and 3.6 yards per carry. Not bad, but like not good by any means. The offense, it was balanced. The run of the pass, nothing really shined though, besides like George Pickens and like Calvin Austin, I think has been pretty okay this year, like pretty good. Um, Pickett just kind of like we were saying, like kind of is what it is. Like until he makes that jump, like we don't know. I think the Steelers, it's funny because I think they have one of the most like solid rosters in the NFL, but it's just like, don't they just feel like they're underperforming like a tick or two? Like they really should be a little bit better, in my opinion.
No, yeah, they've been sneaking away with the wins, and then now absolutely like, and then we saw, like we said,
The
we
play
know what happened
calling
week
is a
one,
lot
so
of the problem, though.
right. No, well, that's the thing is, and that's why I brought up the thing with Matt Canada. I think we had to give that time some marinate, let it marinate a little bit, see if that helps out, and if that doesn't help though, and we don't see an improvement, oh, Matt Canada's got to go.
I feel like you have to fire Canada. All right. Tennessee at Cleveland. Is the Browns defense the best in the league?
Man. I'm not willing to say the best yet, but I'm certainly willing to say top 3. They're definitely a top 3 defense in the league right now. They're disgusting. Not only did both DBs make a huge bounce back this year, the starters, Newsome and Ward absolutely locking down.
Yeah.
The D line is just, man, the D line is top notch. That's about as good of a D line as you could build in the league. They've done it. Now they just need to stay healthy again. We're big on staying healthy, as everyone is. You got to just stay healthy. But this Browns defense and this Browns team as a whole, as I've been saying, they're built to go the distance. Whatever you want to take the distance as. They're built to go the distance, man.
Yeah. I mean, I love their defense. I'm willing to say they're the best. They only allowed 94 total yards. 94 total yards. They held Derrick Henry to 20 yards. They got 5 sacks. Now, it's the Titans offense. Like, it's not anything crazy, but holding anybody under 100 yards is impressive. I think Amari Cooper finally had that day that we've been waiting for. Deshaun, likely his best game so far this year.
Even with that crazy behind the line throw.
That was beyond stupid.
He did bounce back pretty good from that.
That was a Josh Allen type move.
I don't even know Josh's worst day might do that one, but.
No, yeah. You remember the first year when they went to the playoffs?
I know exactly. Yeah, I literally just started thinking about that exact play.
Yeah. So, and that's a bigger moment. So I would say that was worse.
Yeah.
They did struggle in the run game. They did 78 yards on 31 attempts, which is not a good sign. If it's anybody else that they're playing, I don't know if they win this game. I just think like they shut down their offense so well. Here's what I will say. The Browns dominated time of possession, 38 minutes and 29 seconds, almost double what the Titans had. They had 21 minutes, something like that. If the Browns offense can be top 15 and the defense plays like it is, like top 3, top 2, top 1, the Browns needlessly will make a deep run as long as they can figure out like the run game without Chubb. And I think Jerome Ford is perfectly doable. They have Kareem Hunt, like who knows the system. So they'll be fine. Just quickly on Tennessee. Yes, they played the best defensive football, in my opinion, but the O-line is going to be a problem all year. Tannehill is so predicated on playing the play action, and if they can't get the running game, there's no play action. And then you have D-Hop and Treylon Burks, but if you can't get Tannehill going, like he's already not played very well, and without a run game, like you're setting him up for failure. Like they are tied for third for the least amount of points scored. Their defense is kind of middle of the road. I don't think it's strong enough to carry their offense. And they only generated 3 sacks, which isn't bad, but they only did 1 turnover. And like this offense is so bad, like you need to do more than that. They're going to struggle all year if they don't get a run game. And like it makes me question like how quickly we're going to see Will Levis, because in the AFC, it's like if you're not like a top dog, like you're not making the playoffs. So I don't know.
No, yeah, I would say so. I had what was the thing I was gonna say, and then I had something I was gonna say, and then I lost it. And then give me a second.
I don't know. I was talking about the run game being horrible and Tannehill on play action.
What was it, bro? I'm gonna be mad if I don't remember. I'm gonna be mad at myself if I don't remember. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna remember, but like you said, I'm just gonna leave my final thoughts on this game. What I'll leave it at is, yeah, like we said before the year, this is it's worst case scenario for the Titans in terms of like we knew that they were very likely to be able to keep the rebuild all the way, and like, yeah, no, you definitely have got to like push that button. Like you got to find the new QB. If it's not Levis, it could be Levis. Whatever the case is, you got to figure out if it is Levis. Yeah, absolutely. So
New York Giants at San Francisco. Will the New York Giants finish with a top 5 pick in the draft this year?
It's just so tough because there are a lot. There's some teams that are like I think going to be headed there, but like, you know what? I'll say it right now. Yes, like yeah, I'm locking it in at the moment. The way they're playing. I mean, if
Yeah.
you take out the Cardinals' miraculous comeback, which is also just from the Cardinals completely shitting the bed,
Yeah.
completely taking the foot off the gas. It's like the Giants are a bad team right now.
They're bad.
Oh, objectively, they're really bad. And the bad is really bad. They're struggling so much on offense. The defense is not really doing anything. They're in a very tough situation to be in. Again, back to the whole thing with the defense, too. They're pressuring every single snap and they're not getting sacks. Like the whole
No.
scheme, the defense is completely regressed. Probably in thanks to Wake Martindale. But, you know,
Wink.
man's got a ring regardless. But this year,
That's
yeah,
Wink.
he's not bringing the heat this year. Yeah, and then on the other hand of things, it's like the Niners are rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
Brock Purdy does even anything of substance that day, they're going to be tough to beat. And whoever the starting quarterback is, if they do something with substance, you know the defense is going to show up. We know the run game is going to show up. That has been the Niners for a while now, and very likely is not going to change. So yeah, the Niners are going to be a tough opponent every week. If they can just chew the clock on you, Brock Purdy does his thing. Again, I'll reiterate, they're very likely to win the game this season because of how well his team is built. Javon Hargrave's going ballistic in the trenches. Best year of his career so far. I thought it would have been last year, but no, Javon Hargrave looks like he said, I'm coming over here and I'm going to actually improve my career on the new contract. If you're a Niners fan, you love to see it. The D-line is going ballistic. Armstead is going ballistic. This team is complete. And as we know, they're definitely competing for the Bulls. So I don't even have anything else to say on other than that. I'll toss it over to you, bro.
Yeah. So, I mean, the San Francisco defense shut down New York. I mean, they have an elite unit. They only generated 2 sacks, which I would like to see another one. They forced interception. They played lights out. Really, that's it. Purdy put the ball in harm's way a couple times early on, and I really feel like if
those were messed up,
they were bad passes, and I feel like he always has a couple of those each game, and it's like my thing is I feel like the defense never capitalizes on them. Like if the Giants wanted any chance, they had to capitalize on those. They got on track though, and like Debo and CMC were monsters. There's no stopping them as long as the 49ers keep playing like this. Super Bowl contenders easily, NFC Championship lock almost. The Giants, it's like Daniel Jones is running for his life the whole game. The O-line's abysmal, and I get you're playing an elite unit, but there's not a pulse on offense. Without Saquon, like their run game, they had 29 yards. They couldn't do much in the pass game. Jones had no time. Brutal. Defense failed to capitalize on the poor balls that were thrown early in the game. They at least gave him a chance or some type of energy. There was no stopping the 49ers once they got on track. They put up 441 yards of total offense, and they just had no chance of keeping up with the San Francisco wide receivers. They're in a weird spot where it's like they lack true play. Like they lack true playmakers. Darren Waller's kind of not showing up as much. Saquon's injured. The offensive line is bad. I don't understand how you expect Daniel Jones to make plays, and it's like you just gave him that contract. So it's like everything that they did is not looking good in retrospect.
No, absolutely not. And also, just last thing on this, but I can't believe I didn't say this right away. But, if the game plan is to run the ball with the running backs 8 times and toss the ball 32 times, again, we say Dable, the narratives become like Dable's this genius. It's like, well, this certainly was his most anti-genius game plan. And you just can't be doing that to your team there, especially when you're so outclassed. I get it. Running the ball is going to be tough. Well, I'm not stupid. But I also understand that you got to give your defense time to recoup. You got to just take if you're not going to have a ton of possessions you're going to score on, you got to make the most of the ones. You got to make those ones bleed. And they just, absolutely not what was going on. So then again, like you said, not a pulse on offense.
Moving into Philadelphia at Tampa Bay, can the Eagles break the single season rushing record? It was set in 2019 by the Baltimore Ravens with 3,296 yards. Currently, the Eagles have 557 rushing yards. They would need to improve a little bit from a per game basis on yards, but it is definitely possible.
Oh, dude, with the way they're playing right now, also, I mean, absolutely. I think it but that's, and I think what I want to say, like, kind of like the X factor of maybe why it wouldn't happen is because I guess you could say, not that Jalen Hurts is by any means struggling throwing the ball right now, but maybe not as explosive out the gates as you would have, expected, especially if you were an Eagles fan. So I think what I'm trying to say is when he gets it going more and gets into more of a rhythm, maybe they won't have to run as much as they have been. But then also on the other hand, this team clearly is built on the identity of running and chewing the clock. So again, I'm just leave it at what you said. It's certainly their own possibility.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles can run the ball whenever they want. There's no stopping them. And like the offense this week seemed more fluid. It seemed like the play caller is more in rhythm. AJ Brown had a big day. Jalen Hurts had 2 interceptions, but one kind of looked like a miscommunication. The other one was just a great play by the Bucs defender. Basically that tush push is unstoppable. Like they're gonna ban it. I know we keep saying it, but it's just like there's no stopping it.
Unless you're another team. But the way they run it with Kelsey, it's like, man.
No, the defense played great. They didn't allow the Tampa Bay playmakers to get into rhythm. They didn't let Baker get comfortable. They shut him down. The run game was exposed, and the Bucs are kind of like shown truly who they are. You know, if the Eagles really get in their rhythm, they're gonna be just like last year and be a fucking nightmare for whoever has to play them. I think really what killed the Bucs is like Mike Evans had some key drops, and like as your team's playmaker, you really can't have that, especially against an elite team like the Eagles. The run game didn't exist. It's not like it's anything crazy regularly, but it was, they're going to struggle against elite defensive units. The defense got gashed for 201 rushing yards. The Eagles have no reason to stop running the ball anytime. And you're going to dominate time of possession. You're going to own the game like that. So it's just like the Eagles playmakers are just better because of like the offensive line and the quarterback, that it's just like the defense, they made some good plays on the ball, but the offense like didn't capitalize on that, which is frustrating. So the Bucs team isn't bad. They're going to be in every team. They're going to be in every game where they play a team that is like a little bit better, a little bit worse, or on par with them. But like versus like good units like this, it's going to show who they truly are.
No, I think you're very spot on about the Bucs. And I'll go back to the Eagles first, just because real quick, the thing I want to say about the Eagles is if you're an Eagles fan, you got to love seeing AJ Brown get the bounce back week. Big bounce back week right after he was complaining. Seeing things are in order around there, seeing, hey, look, we're going to get our boy the ball. We're going to make sure he feels welcomed, even though he should already know that. But I guess it was definitely up, thing of emphasis this week. You got to love to see it. The Eagles D-line is just ferocious.
Filthy.
And the combination of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter is the fact that everyone else in the league had let this happen. I have no dialogue about it. I just, it's sickening for everyone else except Eagles fans. You guys need to appreciate it, man, because this is just fucked up from everyone else's perspective. How did this happen?
Why did the Bears pass?
How did everyone, dude? Anyways, back to reality here, because the reality is that the Eagles have him, and no one else does.
Yeah.
The Eagles D line is just so full of just good rotational guys, good starters. It's just they're loaded, man. They're loaded, and like you said, all they have to do is literally not turn the ball over a bunch of times every week. Even if they're struggling to throw the ball, the way they run the ball, they have a chance to win any game they play in. They very much, as far as we expect, are going to make another big playoff run. That's the Eagles, man. And over to the Bucs side of things, it's like reality situation with Baker is, like you said, he was playing solid this year, but against a real good defense. Again, back to not anything explosive. I do agree with what you said though. Mike Evans was selling this game. Mike Evans has got to do a little bit better.
He picked it up at the end, but
he did. He actually had one crazy catch I do remember.
That was nuts.
That was a nuts catch. But besides that, maybe a more quiet week. But also, it can't all be on his shoulders. I think if you're a Bucs fan, you just want to see Chris Godwin, be making a little more noise. Cade Otton making more noise. Yeah. Tough week from Rachaad White too. He's been having a good season. But
Cade Otton dropped a ball that really should have been caught.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like you definitely want to see more from the young guys. But at the end of the day, the Bucs are like they're in that frisky category.
Yeah,
but what you said, spot on. A little above, a little below. I think it's anyone's game. But when they're outclassed, they're going to get outclassed for real.
Moving into Los Angeles Rams at Cincinnati Bengals, when will Joe Burrow return to MVP form?
It's a tough question. I think I'm just going to leave my answer directly at when he's actually out here healthy again, because I think it's pretty obvious he's not all the way healthy. And and it sucks when you witness that from a perspective as the fan. Is I've had years like that before too, where you're like, what is going on? And I'm not saying necessarily at the quarterback, but you're watching your guy and you're like, I know that he's not right. He can't be right, but he's still out here. So it's like an illusion. It's confusing you. But if you're a Bengals fan, you got to have the faith. He's out there because he feels like he has to be to help this team stay competitive this year. But I think we'll see him return to his old form. It's definitely not what you want to see right now if you're a Bengals fan. I know that stadium was getting crazy. They were getting a little antsy, booing the team. But don't trip, Bengals fans. I think, again, they're turning the switch in the right direction. It's just a matter of time, I guess, and him not re-aggravating it to a critical extent,
Yeah,
which is the X factor.
I agree. I think it's a big thing also that Jamar Chase bounced back, because then I think like that starts to get that offense kind of in its rhythm. And I think they kind of got in their rhythm later in the game. So as long as Burrow, you know, gets becomes healthy, doesn't mess up his calf again, like I think they can get back to that, kind of MVP caliber form. The defense did a great job putting a stop to like Puka. I think they really sold out to stop him, even though he went for 72 yards, but he didn't like explode on him like the rest of the time. And they started the run game, and you know, it kind of left the Rams to like throw the ball to all the players not named Puka. So it's like Tutu or Higby, and it's like they're not going to make the plays like Puka was. So it's like I feel like this game would have been different if Cooper Kupp was in it, because then you have to worry about Cooper Kupp and Puka. But getting the 2 interceptions is what won the game, in my opinion, to me. And their offense wasn't able to generate many points. So, like, that's giving them the extra opportunities to get those points. So, Cincinnati got their first win of the year. They desperately needed it. The defense showed up against a surprisingly good Rams offense. Just quickly on the Rams, like, Matt Stafford has thrown 2 interceptions for the second week in a row, and it has really hurt his team's chances. Like, he has to take care of the ball. They struggled once they took Puka out of the game and they stopped Kyron Williams. Like, the Rams really didn't have any answers to that. So I think when Kupp returns, this offense is going to be a lot harder to stop. The defense did a decent job containing the Bengals, even though they haven't been operating at the top level. Like, they're still the Bengals. Like, they still have a lot of talent. And only losing by 3 to this team, when you look at the talent on each roster, is impressive. So overall, the Rams have been competitive. They've been in every single game. As the team matures, because it is super young, I think they can actually win games like this. But they're competing for a playoff spot, in my opinion.
Oh no, 1,000%. Like we said, again, it's a weird situation, but I think where I want to start is with the Rams on the Rams side of things. I think so. Number one, the interception that Logan Wilson made was just crazy. I mean, that was just like
Yeah.
one of the interceptions. It was just crazy work. So I can't fault staff too much for that. Just one of them crazy plays. And Kyron Williams too, having a little bit of a drop problem. Got to get, if you're a Rams fan, you want to see Kyron Williams not, putting the ball in danger so much. Big thing. But yeah, Puka getting slowed down was a huge thing. And I think, yeah, when Cooper Kupp comes back, man, the Rams are going to be like real dangerous.
Yeah.
Even again, this offense to an extent already is. The Bengals played them very well. But yeah, and that is what it is. But yeah, and then with the Bengals, I already pretty much touched everything I want to say. But I guess maybe last thing is you definitely want to see Joe Mixon getting going more here. And I think the run game just as a whole, I would say I want to see get going more if you're the Bengals. But it is what it is. The team, and also last thing, T. Higgins struggling a lot. What's going on with T. Higgins?
I don't know. He had that one big week. He had a bad week. He had a bounce back week, and now it's back to this.
Yeah, that was a really rough week. And then also last thing I had written down too, I just wanted to touch on is look, the Rams with Byron Young, Kobe Turner, like they got 2 really good ones out the draft, 2 really good D linemen back-to-back rounds, or in actually same round. But yeah, or was it back-to-back? I don't know. One or the other. Bottom line is 2 good D linemen later in the draft. If you're a Rams fan, you love to see it. And then last thing too, back to the Bengals. Trey Hendrickson's just going ballistic as he has been. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah, that's my analysis of that one.
Well, that has been week 3 recap for you. Thank you guys for listening to You Don't Know Ball. We'll be back next week. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah.